Hi everybody, it is Editing KJ to top off this episode. First of all, sorry that this episode is late. Halloween happened. Also, this episode ended up being much more of an editing challenge than I anticipated. We had a myriad of technical problems, so some of the audio is a little bit echoey, especially when Abigail had their mic on. Just something about their settings was making us echoey, and Meredith dropped out a couple of times, and Frances isn't super loud. It was just a whole host of problems, and I did my best to fix what I could, but until we make it really, really big, it's just me. I'm a one-woman show and I am a self-taught audio editor. It's still a great episode. Honestly, this one might be one of my favorites of our recap episodes so far because it was just fantastic. I loved working with Meredith, Frances, and Abigail. That was a great team. So enjoy the episode. Mayor Todd is hella dead, but as Dean points out, I said hella dead because I think Sam said every single bone in his body was broken. For context.
That's pretty dead.
Yeah, that for me, that qualified. My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions. Today we're recapping Season 1, Episode 13, Route 666, which originally aired on January 30th, 2006, and here to help me do that are my guests of the week, Meredith. Remind the listeners who you are.
Hello, I'm Meredith. I'm still here. Also, I'm thirsty.
Do you have water?
A little bit.
Good. And did you want to give your pronouns as well?
Oh, right. I forgot. Sorry. My pronouns are she and her.
Perfect. And Frances, it's been a while since you joined us, so can you also remind the listeners who you are?
Of course. I'm super happy to be back. My name is Frances, and I go by she, her.
Amazing. And our final guest this week is Abigail, host of Driver Fix the Pod, one of my favorite Supernatural podcasts.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Abigail, and I use they, them pronouns.
We're so excited to have you. I love your podcast, and I'm so excited that we got to collab a little bit.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I've loved listening to yours, and I love that we're working on similar episodes at similar times.
Great.
Super fun.
Oh, yeah, you're listening to it. Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode and may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. This week's episode is titled Route 666, and that's a reference to a movie released in 2001 starring Lou Diamond Phillips. According to Wikipedia, government agents are under attack by ghosts of a massacred chain gang on a desert highway. 666 is also commonly associated with Satan and the devil. I don't know why I clarified those, so they were two separate things.
Number of the beast.
And also, U.S. Route 491 was previously known as Route 666 and nicknamed the Devil's Highway. Also, a huge number of fatalities have apparently occurred on all highways, but apparently this one is particularly bad.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle all over again.
Also, apparently a reference to the show Route 66 from 1960. That wasn't even close. Which, according to IMDb, established the format of many shows, including this one, of two people who travel the countryside helping people in trouble, which does sound a little Winchestery.
This is like a Western.
So those are some things that title might have been a reference to. And this week's episode was written by Eugenie Ross Lemming and Brad Buckner, and it was directed by Paul Shapiro. We're actually going to start by talking about Paul Shapiro this week. Usually we do writers and directors, but there's less to say about directing this week. This is his only episode of Supernatural. They did do a couple of episodes of 24, Dark Angel, the TV series, and the upcoming TV movie that I didn't know existed.
Oh, Dark Angel. Didn't that have Jensen Ackles on it?
I think it might have.
It did.
Yeah, that show with Jessica Alba.
Yeah, and apparently there's a TV movie upcoming.
Fun.
Oh.
4 episodes of Flash Gordon and 6 episodes of Smallville and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of people who did Smallville and Supernatural. There's lots of Smallville crossover.
Same with the X-Files.
I think a lot of the shows have crossover with like executive producers and like people want to work with people that they've worked for before.
Is Smallville also shot in BC?
I believe so.
There you go. That's
Yeah, I
what they
believe it is.
Yeah, Abigail,
Yeah,
you might know better.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, or at least some of it is. Yeah, and makes sense too with them all being a lot of those shows being CW.
Yeah, CW shoots a lot of their shows in the Vancouver area.
All over the place.
Eugenie Ross Fleming has written 38 episodes of Supernatural. This one's her first, but her last is actually 15x19, which is the second last of the entire show. So she was here for the long haul.
Good for her.
She wrote 4 of the last 20 episodes of the show, which is a significant number from the final season. She's also written for Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman in the 90s, Beggars and Choosers, and a show called Highcliffe Manor in the 1970s, which she also acted in. Brad Buckner and Eugenie Ross Fleming must have been a dream team. They were writing partners on all of those projects.
Oh, nice.
And as far as IMDb could tell, they wrote all 38 episodes of those Supernatural episodes together. I will say these two have written some episodes I really like, some episodes I really haven't. Without giving any spoilers, these two wrote Dark Dynasty, so I must hate them now on principle forever. Yeah, can never like them after that, but they also wrote Lotus, which I really like, Hell's Angel, a lot of the season 12 arc that unpacks the character of Mary Winchester they wrote. I could actually forgive them almost for Dark Dynasty for the line, remember he who hesitates disintegrates in Hell's Angel. That almost gets me there, but not quite. Not quite. I will never forgive the torture that I suffered at the hands of that episode. But let's get to this week's episode. Actually, no, let's not get to this week's episode because I have one more fun fact about Eugenie Ross Fleming.
All right.
Both her and Brad Buckner became executive producers, and I found out that she's married to Robert Singer, who is another executive producer.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Good for her.
Yeah, apparently those two got married, so good for them. I don't know if they had met on a different project or if they met on Supernatural, but they're married. I learned that fact while I was trying to figure out if Eugenie Ross Fleming or Brad Buckner were white or if they were black. As far as I could tell, they were both white. I don't think you necessarily need to be black to write about racism in America. I think living in America gives you a lot of experience with racism, and Canada. I'm including Canada when I say that. But yeah. I was just looking for this episode in particular because this episode deals a lot with race. But I think especially in this case, it's okay that they are white because I think this episode kind of comes from the perspective of the Winchesters who are white. But as we said when we covered Bugs, it's always better to ask people how they want to be, how they want their stories to be told, and give them the chance to tell the stories for themselves.
Yeah.
But I think that they didn't do a bad job. I think Eugenie and Brad understood what they were doing at least a little bit.
We should call him.
Yeah, it's really basic.
Yeah, it's not too complex. They don't get. They could have gone deeper into it. But I think that they didn't do anything that was outwardly cringeworthy the way that the writers of Bugs did.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, Eugenie and Brad went on to write 38 more episodes of this show, and those writers didn't go on to write anything else for any other show.
Oh no.
So on to the recap. I have a little note about my notes. After I watched the show and did my notes, I went back and I listened to Abigail's podcast and listened to their coverage of this episode, and I made some additional notes on things that I wanted Abigail to mention or talk more about. I'm not excluding Meredith or Frances. In fact, I encourage them to add their thoughts. We just happen to be lucky that Abigail already spent 40 minutes of audio on this episode already.
Don't worry, I'm sure I can scrounge together some thoughts.
Oh, I'm sure. Even when I was rewatching it, like I rewatched it again, preparing for this, and I was like making a couple notes that I was like, oh, we didn't talk about that. That's also interesting.
Yeah, because you tend to take a more focused approach in what you talk about.
Yeah.
And we tend to take a more plot approach some of the time.
Which is great, and we cover different things.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes when I never listen to Abigail's episodes before we record, but sometimes I'll listen to them between the time that we record and the time that I edit. And I'll be like, oh man, I wish we talked about that. But it's a good time.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack in these episodes. Yeah. So you can approach them from a variety of different ways.
And then also, before we get into this episode, like I said, this episode deals with racism as like a major plot point. And this episode came out in 2006. And once again, I am white and I do my very best to be anti-racist, but my best isn't always good enough or like great. So I'm trying, but I will definitely be willing to accept criticism. So we're in Cape Girardeau. I'm hoping that's how you say it.
Girardeau.
I think that's in Missouri. It's on Route 6. And a black man is driving at night when a giant-ass monster truck starts tailgating him and trying to run him off the road.
And already you can tell that the person behind the wheel of that truck has a big ego.
Yeah, I mean...
and a lot to compensate for.
Lifted trucks and, like, big trucks are very popular where Meredith and I grew up.
Oh, no.
But this one is exceptionally large. This is a very large vehicle. And then this truck runs this guy off the road, and then, it doesn't quite. The truck disappears, and the radio, which had, like, cut out, turns itself back on. But then the truck reappears, and the radio cuts out again, and then that's when the truck fully, like, chases this guy off the road, and the truck then, revs its engine, has a bit of an attitude problem, and then it fades out of existence.
It reminds me of, like an animal, like, growling at someone after they run away.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's, like, daring him to, like, get back up.
It's like this intimidation factor of, like, there's no get away. Look how big I am.
Yeah. Sam and Dean are on their way to Pennsylvania, and Sam is mapping out their route. This is exactly the same as the scene in Skin, but reversed. Dean is like, no, we're not going to Pennsylvania anymore. And I hope there wasn't some monster there. They never say why Sam was planning him a route to Pennsylvania. And, like, I hope that they weren't on their way to a hunt, because they don't get there.
Well, I hope another hunter catches wind of whatever
it was they were
going to be
for.
On.
Like,
it's interesting they don't call anyone, because we know they have at least a couple of other people in, like, a hunter network if there was a hunt.
Yeah, and then, like, the only other reason that they would be going to Pennsylvania would be if they think that John's there, and there's no indication that John was there or that they would think that John was there. So it's weird. They never said in Skin where they were going either, when they, like, changed plans to go check out what was up with Rebecca and Zach, Sam's friends.
Well, you think if John was there,
they would have mentioned that.
If they thought John was there, Sam would have probably, like, put up more of a fight about, like, Dean's going to see a random old friend.
Like, I cannot think of a single, like, major tourist attraction they would want to go see in Pennsylvania either. To be fair, I don't know that much about the states.
I mean, no.
But yeah,
Pennsylvania's not exciting.
I'll trust you.
I can't think of anything they'd be going to do there except for a case, and I'm just like, they don't get there, they don't mention calling anyone to check it out.
Maybe there's just a really cool tree there. I'd travel to see that.
But anyway, they're not going to Pennsylvania because Dean has gotten a call from a friend whose father was just killed, who thinks that it's their kind of thing.
Ooh.
Is very emphatic that she would not have called if it wasn't important. Sam is shocked, and I'm not sure if he's shocked that Dean's changing their plans, because their plans, whatever plans they had, would have been important, or if he's shocked that Dean has any friend who's not a hunter. Because, any of Dean's friends are presumably hunters and would handle any problems for themselves.
This is like the one time that Sam is really shocked about something and he actually has a reason to be shocked about it.
Yes.
To be fair, Sam seems to be shocked that indicate that Dean has a life.
That is
had
true.
a life while he was at Stanford.
That is true. He was also really shocked that John let him go hunting on his own. Like, was like, Dad let you go somewhere by yourself? And Dean was like, I'm 26 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my favorite GIF set. I have that GIF set saved because I'm 26 this year, and I like to use it at every opportunity.
It's amazing.
But yeah, this is like the one time where Sam is actually has a reason to be shocked that we agree with.
Cut to them driving, and Sam was wheedling like little bits of information out of his big brother about their so-called old friend. And we find out her name is Cassie, and she and Dean used to date.
Ooh.
Sam is shocked that Dean dated someone for more than a one-night stand. We've had a lot of allusion to the fact that Dean has a lot of like short-term sexual partners, but we actually haven't seen him interact with a lot of them. At least, I think the most action we've seen Dean get might have been when he kissed Andrea. I can't think of anyone he was with besides Andrea, really.
I don't really keep track of these things.
I didn't put that in my notes, so I am just thinking off the top of my head, but...
No, I'm pretty sure...
Your notes, then.
You're correct with that.
But this is, the first indication, like, time we've, like, really, like, met someone, he's, like, done more than kiss, which is interesting. And yeah, I feel like we've alluded a lot to the fact that Dean has a lot of sexual partners, but we haven't really discussed any of them. And Sam seems surprised that anyone would last more than, like, a night, maybe two. And we find out that John and Dean worked a job in Athens, Ohio, which is apparently one of the most haunted places in the continental US. Cassie and Dean dated for a bit, but Dean is downplaying all of that interaction.
Anything to avoid emotions with your brother.
Yeah, Sam says nothing in the police report is really indicating it's like a case. And that's when Sam realizes that Dean told Cassie that the supernatural exists, and he is shocked because apparently rule number 1 is we do what we do and we shut up about it. And Sam's wrong here.
Also, Sam's so upset that Dean would, like, break a so-called rule, despite the fact that, like, Sam's entire childhood was about him, like, arguing about every single rule that they had in their family.
Yes, literally.
He's so offended